Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. How are you doing this evening? Of course, I'm just now waiting to make sure that my audio is working, so bear with me just a moment here as we check that. And I apologize for the echo there. My headphones were not being picked up. So hopefully now we are good as I have my headphones ready to go. Hello, Miss Carrie. Thank you for joining me tonight. And as Carrie said in my chat, as always, because of YouTube rules and regulations, this content and discussion is my opinion based on facts around the subject, allegedly, and for entertainment purposes only. Because of YouTube's rules, when you're talking about true crime situations now, it is you always have to say it is for entertainment purposes. This is called anything I share on the stream is covered by Section 107 of the Fair Use Clause. Um, and away we go. Hello, Cosplay. Thank you for joining us. How did the basketball games go today? I'm sure we'll have people trickling in just a moment here. We are in for a great stream tonight. I believe this is going to be great. Awesome. Glad to hear. I know how proud you always are of your kids. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start tonight with talking about how I believe the Amber Alert system or a system like that can be efficient, at the same time is ineffective. If you follow me along the way, you know that I am not in favor of the Amber Alert system. I have major issues with the Amber Alert system. Thank you, Carrie. There is the full Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowances made for fair use or criticism, comment, and news reporting, scholarship, research, and education purposes. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate you having that. We're going to talk about how I believe that in some instances, the Amber Alert system fails kids. And how in some instances, if a state comes up with a program or a system that goes beyond what Amber Alert does, it can be very effective. We're going to start, if you haven't picked up what I'm hinting at so far, we are going to start with, bear with me 1 second here, folks. I apologize. We are going to start with this young man right here. 2-year-old little man survived 24 hours in the woods of Florida. And if you haven't heard this story, it is amazing what had happened. I'm not focusing on who this child is. Everybody knows what has happened to little JJ. What I'm focusing on is what the state of Florida did and what every single missing child deserves. And this is not a spin that you're going to hear on other channels. They're focused on that this man is a hero and this little boy is a miracle. And I don't disagree. I'm not trying to deny that this man listening to a higher being, whatever you want to say his higher being is, pointed him in the right direction when he was in the middle of a field to literally almost stumble upon and trip over little JJ. He was in the middle of a field and just happened to sit there for a moment and listen and felt guided to go into a certain direction. And when he came up to the tree line of a wooded area, there was little JJ standing in briars, unable to move from his location, just reached out his arms after he called him by name, reached out his arms so he could be picked up and rescued. Again, I'm not denying that's a miracle. No matter what you believe your higher power is, that is a miracle. There is no rhyme or reason this 2-year-old child should have been able to survive 24 hours or nearly 24 hours in the woods of in a wooded area in Florida. What I'm focused on tonight is the fact that Florida, like some other states, has a system in place that identifies a child not as a kidnapped child, but an alert system that put this child's information out there to and instructions of how to search properly for this child. While they were putting drones up in the air, while they were using dogs on the ground, and after a night, they did not wait more than, what is that? It's not even 24 hours. So what is that? I want to say like maybe 18 hours, 16 hours, somewhere in there. I don't know the exact time. It doesn't matter. They decided to have volunteers come in, give them identifying markers, give them shirts, give them whatever they needed, put them out in the fields and the woods and the surrounding area on foot to search. I say congratulations to Florida for having a system in place that allowed for this to happen and for this child to be rescued. Every single missing child deserves that same exact ability to be searched for. Hello, Miss Justice. Hello. How are you doing tonight? M. Dijon, thank you very much. This name I don't recognize. FAA Fuki 420 Mama, thank you very much for coming out. True Crime and Other Stuff, thank you for coming out as well. Hello to everybody. I appreciate you coming out. Now, while this story is a miracle, and it is an awesome thing, because I had the opportunity before I was starting work that day, the other day when he was found, to be, if you're not aware, I follow a lot of news channels on YouTube, and one of them is WFLA. WFLA has its own streaming desk. Okay, where they have some of their reporters, some of their anchors, some of their people that they'll even cover the weather. It went during hurricane season from this streaming desk. They sat there, and the host JB lost it, emotionally lost it. It was broke down in tears, saying this is incredible news. This is incredible that he was found. And then we have the flip side of this. Then we have the flip side. This is Miss Samantha Humphrey, 14 years old. Missing since No, Friday, November 25th, from Schenectady, New York. 14 years old, and she was trying to get out of an abusive relationship. On November 25th, she had phone calls from her ex-boyfriend, as this flyer says. And I hope that the police are looking at her ex-boyfriend. She was found yesterday by fishermen that just happened to upon a lake or a stream that they wanted to go fishing in. And when they found her, she was in a shopping cart, tied down, strapped in, that was submerged underwater. If they had the same type of system, if they had the same type of response, I'm not saying that she would have survived because she was in essentially and what should be classified as a domestic abuse relationship. I'm not saying she would have survived, but she would have been given a chance to survive. We also have Miss Danielle Owens. Danielle is actually a local story to where I live, a couple counties away. 16-year-old. Now, this forgive this picture. This is from a newspaper, a website, so it's a bit grainy. She was just found last week, dumped in a cornfield. She has been missing since December. The reason I'm mentioning her is, again, if the state had a system like Florida does, I'm not saying that she would have survived, but I'm saying that it would have given her a fighting chance. We need to come up with a system that is beyond just the Amber Alert system. Her family, now I don't know the family of the girl from, I don't know anything much of the story from the girl from Schenectady, Samantha Humphrey. But what I do know is a story about what her family is saying, that Danielle's family is saying. Essentially, they are mad as hell and they want answers. Greenville, Tennessee focuses on you because this is a story I am definitely following up with. This is now on my list of stories to follow. If for some reason somebody knows of the family or knows of the or is the family, I would love to speak to you. I don't normally do this, but I believe the family is innocent. I don't believe the family has anything to do with what happened. And if helping getting their message, helping get their story out there about Danielle, I'd be more than happy to speak with you on this. A system needs to be in place besides the Amber Alert system because it cannot and should not be failing children like Samantha Humphrey, like Danielle. It needs to work. It needs to be more stories like what happened to JJ, where they're found, they're returned safe, they're returned unharmed in a emotional or in an SA type of way to the families that love them. Tonight is about Don Wells. Tonight is about Candace Wells. Tonight is about Summer. I don't know if anybody had heard or had seen. There has been a lot of controversy that has been going on in the past 24 hours, 48 hours. That we're going to touch very, very lightly on. I'm going to be saying a creator that I normally do not mention. And I know, hello, Kiki's Eyes. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Going to name a couple creators tonight that I've never mentioned on my channel. And honestly, I low key watch them, keep an eye on what they say. Not that I repeat what they say, but it intrigues me what they do say. And right now, there is a smear campaign that is going on with this one channel, and it is not this channel's fault. And I want to be clear that I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to promote this other channel. I know this person comes with controversy. And if you know the controversy that I'm speaking of when I mention this the creator's name, you'll understand why I'm prefacing this way. It's TM, Tiffany Marie. I don't have any disrespect for her. The channel that I have disrespect for is the other channel that seems to be raising Cain, raising hell, however you want to say it, with her. I've referred to them as, I've been referring to them not by name, but instead by saying they are Voices Behind the Wall 2.0. If you remember back at the beginning of Summer Wells being disappearing, and this is probably two months, almost 3 months into her disappearance. This other channel that was Voices Behind the Wall, I don't know what their name is now, was giving Don Wells a platform to speak. A lot of times he was either drunk or high or out of his gourd with exhaustion, would go on there and ramble and speak and say all sorts of crazy things that made no sense. It's been several months since Don Wells was on that channel. He has gone to prison since then, and he's come out of prison. Took about 3 months for Don Wells to start speaking. And then Candace starts speaking to the same channel. Got to show you something that happened on this other channel tonight. It's not a clip. Please do not think I am being a clip channel. This is a quote, and I promise you, this is Candace Wells. This is Candace Wells. Bear with me just a second here. I apologize. I accidentally closed it. My apologies. Bear with me one more moment here. I'm not showing the full page of what had been said. This is a part of what was said. The portion I am not showing is to a creator that I do not want to recognize or do not want to put attention on from my channel. This is Candace's handle on YouTube. She was on this channel and she said, let's fight. She was pleading for this channel to stop fighting, basically, and mentioned a particular creator that I don't care for at all. And she said, let's find Summer. Mary doesn't know me. Why is she so concerned after saying the pleading for stop fighting and saying, let's find Summer, to take the moment to say, Mary doesn't know me? Why are you bringing the allegations from Utah up in the middle of this when you want people to be focused on finding your daughter Summer? It makes no sense. It makes absolutely zero sense to me, other than you still fear, believe what they said, what they accuse of, to be the truth. And you fear that your husband is still going to be arrested from and taken to Utah. Kiki's eyes. If you're arrested and you're found guilty of something, you go to prison. Whether it's a county prison, state prison, it's still prison. When you go to jail, it's when you're first arrested and before you are given either a bond or ROR or officially charged. That's what jail is. Why would you say, let's find Summer and attach it to Mary in Utah? It's a very curious statement, Candace. very curious statement. Going forward, I said we're going to look tonight at some discrepancies that Don Wells has said currently or in the past. We're not going to have a long stream tonight, folks. I promise. I know it's 9:30 already. I did not plan on having a long stream tonight. One of the biggest things that Don Wells says that always has struck me as a slap in the back of the head statement, so to speak. The infamous Gibbs slap statement. That Summer loved him so much that they were so close to each other and that there is no doubt in his mind that she loved him, as in she loved him the most. Is if Josh, the lab, Thursday night after my live, this is why I'm not going to be very long. I encourage everybody to go over to the lab. I will put the link up in a couple moments for what he did on Thursday night. You do not have to listen to Summer Wells. Excuse me, you don't have to listen to Don Wells speak. It is simply that what he has said is recapping a conversation he had with Don Wells, not online, not on a live. This was a calm conversation. There was no screaming, no flying in cuss words, no accusations. He was clear as can be. Clear as can be. Bear with me a moment here. As soon as I find that video, I will be more than happy to post the live so you can take a look at it. I said it was Thursday night. After the live, like I said, my live tonight, please go take a look at this video. It's not listening to Don Wells. There is one particular thing, and for anybody that wants to know, it's now pinned to the top. It's one very particular and peculiar, I cannot say that word, forgive me. One strange thing he says. Is that Candace has a broken heart over what happened. And when questioned about, is it possible that Candace, even though she has a broken heart, could have had something to do with the disappearance of Summer Wells? He says it could have. And in this live, Josh tells a statement that Don Wells made that at no other time has anybody ever made, because TBI, the FBI, the Hawkins County, the the sheriff, the department. Nobody has said this until Don Wells. They showed him a stack of files that are all accidental incidents. And the TBI lays it out there for them to come out and say, yes, an accident happened. And they covered it up. If you followed me all along, you'll know that I said from day one, this is an accident. Where the parents are culpable is where they have covered this up. It's no wonder the TBI, it's no wonder every single statement, except for what has come out of the Wells mouths in the past 20 months. If you look at the TBI question and answer document they put out there, it says one thing that stands out. There is no evidence of a kidnapping. But what has come out of the Wells mouth? She was kidnapped. She was taken off the hill. She was taken from us. Where is our child? They until recently, they've never been saying, where is our child, Summer? Don and Candace, you need to bite the dang on bullet and start telling the truth. If you're going to come out here and ignore the gag order, oh, by the way, speaking of, in that live that I'm not mentioning, or I mentioned in a very roundabout way, that is still ongoing right now. Candace was on the panel and she said, quote unquote, I do not care if they drag me back into court about going on social media and talking about my daughter. In her own way, she just confirmed for every single person that sat there and said, we can't prove it because there's a gag order, but that is exactly what we said happened on the 9th. I'll be straight out honest. I do not have an issue with the particular creator. I've never had an issue with that creator. I was on that creator's channel with John Q. We were going over information that they had never heard of when we went on there. Hello, Katie Kitty. Thank you for coming out. Hello, Pug Mom. I did not see you. Thank you for coming out. If you're going to go onto a channel, I admit I went on there. I did not want to go on there. There is a such thing as, you know, if you know somebody's reputation. Let me back up a step. Reputation is what the public perceives. And knowing that story, that channel's reputation, even back then, it was never a channel that was on the up and up. That channel needs to stick to, in my personal opinion, and no offense to this creator, your heart is not in the right place. You're not a true crime person. Talk about your animals. Talk about what happens on your farm. And you're in your sweet spot. You start talking about true crime, and it all goes crazy. Marshmallow Kisses, thank you for coming out tonight. Hello, how are you? It is important to understand why this is Voices Behind the Wall 2.0. The whales are not the smartest persons in the world. If they commit a crime, they get caught like that. But they're smart enough to cover their tracks, to use social media to cloud everything that has been happening. Hello, Rain. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate you coming out tonight. They cloud what the truth is because they have to keep covering up what happened to Summer. They know. If they want Summer Wells to be found, they're going to have to stop doing that and start telling the truth. They're not doing that. They don't want Summer found. Another discrepancy. Like I said, I'm not going to be long tonight, folks. I really am not going to be long. We are going to spend some time, and if you know me, this is my favorite thing to do. So bear with me. I put this in the description of tonight. We are going to take a look at some maps. I spent my part of my afternoon setting these maps up, and it's going to be pretty self-explanatory when you see where these maps are coming from and going to. We're going to take a close look at these. They're very similar maps, so there is some slight differences, and I will point that out to you. Don Wells on June 15th told everybody he was at work, which is the Meadows, a subdivision that is just on the outskirts of Johnson City and Jonesboro. It's in Jonesboro, but pretty much it's a split in between. And he said that he was at work when he got the phone call from Candace that Summer was missing. And he says that he had to throw his tools in the red Subaru, which if you saw my thumbnail from the beginning, that is the red Subaru, or a picture of the similar make and model, the year or two as well, of that red Subaru. So he went from the Meadows. He's saying he went from the Meadows. And he went home. He went straight home. But there's a video out there. If you remember, I mentioned this channel before. If you followed it from day one, and folks, when I say follow from day one, you have channels that will say, "Oh, I followed this. I was the first one to follow this story. I followed this within hours of Summer Wells missing. I followed this, that, and the other." They can't get any sooner than when I started following. Only the police can start saying that. I live in Tennessee. I listen to police scanners of my area because I'm just curious and I'm nosy like that. I heard the 911 dispatch call on June 15th. That's when I started following Summer Wells. Forgive me, folks. I'm going to pause for a second here, and I'm going to take a drink of water. Thank you all. And Miss Carrie, thank you for putting creators' links into the chat. If you are a creator, please let my mods know. I have no problem with promoting other creators. My mods know to what I look for, and if there's an issue with that I might consider that we don't promote that channel. But if you are a creator, let them know, and they'll check out. We'll check you out, and then the next live when you're in here, we'll be more than happy to promote your channel. My apologies. I'm a big time water drinker. If you heard that. I was saying I started following what happened to Summer Wells with the dispatch call going out on June 15th, not a replay, not hearing it from other channels, not hearing it from anything other than the dispatch call that went out on June 15th. That is what dispatch had said. They had said they heard from mom, who said that she went for a run for and which I believe we'll get into that in just a moment as well, which I believe did not mean physically going for a run. And then later on, they did say they heard from dad. He was coming in from work. Which brings us to this. This route right here is not the favored route that Google Maps will tell you that a person coming from Jonesboro, from the Meadows subdivision, would have traveled. I've had to plot and make it manipulate it. I will admit that I've had to put pins and markers in this thing to get this to be where it's at. But as a local, this is still not close to what I believe Don Wells would have traveled. Down here is the Meadows subdivision. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, if you hang on, let me just double check to make sure you guys can see this. My apologies. You were not seeing it. So again, down here is the Meadows subdivision. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit here. This is Jonesboro, 321. This goes through Jonesboro, goes through Johnson City, goes through Gray, goes through Boones Creek. These are towns you would not find normally on a map. Okay. This is Jonesboro still. This is downtown Jonesboro right here, I believe. And if you were to follow this on out, 321 is here. I lost 321. My apologies, folks. However, what I still said about 321 is still correct. It goes through Jonesboro. It goes through Johnson City. It meanders around. Is the point I'm trying to make. I believe it actually comes out and ends in like Milligan or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But here's the Meadows subdivision. Right here is Trucker Drywall. We'll get into that in a moment. That's where his company, who he is, a subcontractor, is through. Pay attention to this. 55 minutes, 29.9 miles. he's coming, he would come up this way, right here. Gonna zoom in. Right where he makes this left-hand turn. If he keeps going straight, which he should have done, and would have shaved about 10 to 15 minutes off his travel time to continue up 93, which parallels Horton Highway. If you look here, that's where I'm going to focus on in a moment. And then comes back around. You would have to come up here and back around and come up Gum Spring Road. And then we wind up being over here at home, 110 Ben Hill Road. We're going to go back to that in just a moment. That would have shaved off 15 minutes. In an interview that Don Wells had done, and I don't remember if it was WJHL or if it was, I don't remember the source of this interview, but I remember him saying this, and if it will, if you followed back then, this will stick out. He said that he took a route that cameras were not on. This is where this left-hand turn comes important. 81 would be getting monitored by Tennessee DOT. And then look what is right on the other side of the highway. A Tennessee Highway Patrol office. That would also make this area, getting on and off the highway. Sorry, I keep flashing up that truck driving school there. Getting on and off the highway, going into what the Tennessee Patrol office here would have cameras monitoring it. So he had to make this left-hand turn past White Cemetery, then make a right-hand turn over here, which goes under 81 with no access to 81, come up to Horton Highway. Now, why is making a left on Horton Highway so important? We have Chimney Top Loop. I mentioned earlier there was about Voices Behind the Wall, their channel, and what I give them credit for doing in the beginning. One of the things they did is they asked Don Wells to make a video of him going out and searching because there was so much said, I'm not drawing the right word I want to use. There was so much being said about he did not go out searching for his child. And why should anybody else go out searching for him? Her, rather. Sorry, my apologies. Her. Well, here's the thing. He said he did go out searching. And he showed them where he had been searching. Chimney Top Loop. He drove 3/4 of the way around. And when he got to over here, this point, this intersection, he mysteriously, as he came up to this bend in here in the road, he made it approximately 3/4 of the way around. He shuts off the video feed. It's not that a battery had died. It's not that it just malfunctioned and stopped recording and the video was corrupted. He shut it off. Nobody knows why. I'm going to give you a little information here. There are no cameras back here. This is a holler. And I make a point, and John Q has been with me when we made this point, that these Neko Jap Cat, thank you very much for coming out. I apologize. I've been focusing on the map here, so forgive me. I do appreciate your... Oh, there are interesting people that live all around this area. Okay. Some of them have a very unique and backgrounds that you would not expect to find. But at the same time, this is a good place for them to live because they are not near children. If that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. So this chimney top loop, if you follow this north, and we'll come back to this right here in a moment. If you follow this to the north, you come across the mountaintop here, and then you go Limestone Branch, and oh my goodness, 110 Ben Hill Road. If you've not noticed, not paid attention to how I get into and John Q gets into maps, this is very telling because these hollers are so connected. Even though Google Maps does not pick up roads, or they declare that at a point that these roads are private and they no longer put them on the maps. And this is why you get a discrepancy in the path that Don Wells took. Because remember, folks, I'm going to zoom out. Bear with me just a second. Quick zoom out. Most people say he would have went up here through Fall Branch and around to Ben Hill Road, or he would have come out here on 81 all the way into Kingsport almost to come all the way back down 347. This is not the 81 he got onto, and I'm going to come back to that in a moment. Remember, this is not the 81 he got onto. So going back here to Chimney Top Loop, the hollers are so connected. There are roads, there are paths. If you have a four-wheel drive, you can get around from here to here without going through all of this. Without going through all of this. Now, why do I have it highlighted for him not to return to Horton Highway? I'm going to come back to this in just right here. If he had turned around and didn't go all the way back to Horton Highway, turned around, doubled back, and he didn't go over the mountaintop, because I believe in the video he was showing, he was actually in his truck, if I remember correctly. And apologies, I'm going off of memory. May not be perfectly remembering. It would be most likely that he would have come up this way to avoid traffic coming off of 81 using Horton Highway. To come up to Horton Highway and then back around through Old Blair's Gap Road here to 347. And if you remember the story that he tells, on the day of the 15th, he drove past Ben Hill Road to go to here because the boys were down here. He could see the boys were down here. How are you going to see through a wooded area around a curve that your boys were on the lower part of your property? This is the feed shed down here, folks. This is where the tree trimmers were that day. How do you get there? You can't get there unless you came in from this direction, could see up your driveway, did not see anybody on the property, came down to Beach Creek Road, then around to the lower property. That's one discrepancy. Another discrepancy is the amount of time it took to get from the Meadows home. Now, I've mentioned there is a couple ways that you can shave 10, 15 minutes off going through Fall Branch, or if you go up through this way to Ben Hill Road, you're shaving 10, 15 minutes off. That is still leaving you 45 minutes. Don Wells says that he did it in less than a half an hour. I believe it was something like 30, 35 minutes. And Carrie, if Carrie corrects me, please go on what she says. I can be off on the time. When I say something, I know the story. I know what happened. I know the series of events. Carrie there, she's not in any way related to the last name. The sheriff. She's not in any way related to him. She knows this story better than I do. She knows the events that happen better than I do. I want you to take a look at something. And the reason I put this up here, I brought mention to Trucker Drywall. I have information that Don Wells, and this has been a story that has gone on from the beginning, that Don Wells was not at the Meadows the whole day. I believe that he was there about half the day. He went home for lunch. Then he started to go back to the Meadows. He never made it there. He had to stop at his boss's home for where his office is for some reason that it still cannot prove. The owner is not speaking of it. Don Wells is not speaking of it. Would it not be correct to say that instead of being at the Meadows, if he had to go to his boss's house, that technically he's still at work? He's a subcontractor. He would have to go somewhere to pick up a day's assignment, or if he needed to submit a purchase order for new supplies, new mud. He's a mudder. He spackles. If not aware what a mudder does, it's joint compound between sheets of drywall. He would have to go to his boss's house to submit paperwork, submit his hours, submit anything along those lines so he could get paid, possibly even to pick up his check. He had to go there for a reason. So what if let's just say we get rid of he was at the Meadows. We're down to 42 minutes. Let's say we get rid of he went to Chimney Top Loop. We're down to 30 minutes. And if you really wanted to know, I said he did not go on 81. Not this 81. Take a look at what this state county route name number is. It's coming into focus. I hope you can see that. He went on 81. But it was Tennessee State 81, not Interstate 81. The house that I showed, that I said it was Tucker, that is the owner of the business that he was a subcontractor for. Neko Jepcat, is that if that's who you're referring to? That's the boss's house. He did not get on 81. And it takes his drive down to 30 minutes. If you go on Horton Highway, it's 40 minutes. But this is most likely the path he took. The quickest route he could have taken. Now, I'm going to show you speculation right here. I'm going to switch my screen to this right here. If for some reason he went from his boss's house and he did go on to Chimney Top Loop and then back on Horton Highway to go around the mountain here and then come back down for Beach Creek Road, it would have taken him 39 minutes. We're now talking about the ballpark time range of when Don Wells, or how long Don Wells said it took him to get from work to home on June 15th. Between this route, if he did go on Chimney Top Loop and for some reason he couldn't go and get up over the mountain and he turned around and went back up Horton Highway to go around, or if he went straight this way through Fall Branch and around under 81 past the police station, the over here, which I still do not believe he would have gone through, because there would have been cameras all over the place. And he said he was driving a route that did not have cameras. But look, this would not have had cameras. And some variation of him avoiding the police station over here, we're still now consistently within the ballpark of him arriving from work site, boss's house, to the time that he claims it took him to get home. He could have done something along the lines of he didn't go up here past the police station and follow the other route that I was showing you before with the other stop locations and come up to Horton Highway still and on around. This would have been a difference of 4, maybe 5 minutes. We're still in the same ballpark. It's the little discrepancies like this that make all the difference in what Don Wells says, and why you have to discredit what he says. I half-wittedly joke that his role in this whole entire thing is he was doing his job. He's a mutter. He fills in the gaps between drywall sheets. And to protect his family, to protect the truth that he has learned from everybody talking, In the back of his mind, he knows what TBI said is absolutely the truth. What he admitted to Josh on the lab, which is again that link at the top of your chat, it's the first 45 minutes to an hour is what you need to pay attention to. If you want to listen to his alibis and all that, which Josh focuses on later in that, but what I'm speaking of is within the first hour. He did his job. The only thing he knew to do was fill in the gaps to protect his family, attempt to protect his family, attempt to protect his wife, girlfriend. There's still controversy over whether or not they are actually married. Why does she still use her last name Bly and so on and so forth? Not getting into that. Hello, flies on the coleslaw. Thank you very much for coming out. At the most, and I apologize, I'm using some common phrases, common things people say. At the most, you have to take what he says with a grain of salt. In order to get the bitterness down of what he's actually saying and bring out the flavor of it, if you know cooking, to do that, sometimes you add salt to what you're cooking. You cannot, no matter what they say on other channels, and this is not a, I'm up here, I'm venting about other channels. This is what I want you guys to focus on. The deception that Don Wells had laid out started well before he got behind a microphone. It started with his route home. It's impossible. If you look at the time that he said he took to get home and all the other routes that Google Maps will normally tell you to go, which will be either through Johnson City onto 26 or to go up let's see, it was the Meadows is right about here. I'm just playing with the map a little bit here. To go from the Meadows to 110 Benho Road tells you to go through Fall Branch as the quickest route. Next quickest route is for him to get on 81, Interstate 81, go one exit, back off, and come all the way up into Kingsport, almost, and then back down 347, Kingsport. The other route is from here. This is Johnson City right here. Remember, folks, I described the Tri-Cities area as being a triangle, with Johnson City being the southern point, Kingsport being the northwestern point, and Bristol being the northeastern point. It would have told him to come all the way into Johnson City here, get on 26, and head north. Come all the way up into Kingsport, get off, go through Kingsport to get to 347, and then home. This is the only route or routes that make sense to the time that Don Wells said he took to get home. And the information that he says that there were no cameras, or the way he ran, there were no cameras on the route. That's why you have no proof of him being on any roads. Guys, I said I'm not going to be long tonight, but I do want to give you guys an opportunity for anybody that has any questions or want to make any points or anything about what I've said tonight. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of time here. We're just going to go over the chat a little bit here. As always, if you are here with me now and you like what I've said, or you understood what I've said, I'm never going to monetize my channel. Never. No matter if I have enough subscribers or not. I don't care if I get 1,000 subscribers in one night and people ask me to do so. I'm never going to make money on my channel. That is making money off of a tragedy, and I don't do that. A missing child is a tragedy. Please go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel. Share this out. I believe there's a lot of great information in this video that I've shared with you tonight. About the discrepancies that Don Wells speaks of, that Candace has spoke of just today. About their daughter, Summer Wells, being missing. If you are a creator, I do respectfully ask for that. If you do want to use any information from my channel, you're welcome to do so. I don't hold any sort of time limit or anything like that. It could be 5 minutes after my stream, and I don't care. Only thing I do request is that if you do use my information to credit my channel, you're welcome to do so. If you are on my replay crew, because I do have some people that will watch this in replay and not live with me at the current time. Also, I want to make sure I thank them very much. Katie Kitty, I agree with you 100%. I really do. Chimney Top Loop is a very key important to how he went home that day. But again, to my replay crew, I want to thank you very much for coming out and taking a look at or reviewing this on replay. I also ask you to go ahead and smash that like button and share this out to people. If you have not already subscribed, please do so. Again, my channel is never going to be monetized. I cannot in my heart do it. Katie Kitty, are you asking where Fields Road is? Let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. There it is. Let's go ahead and put this back in here. From Chimney Top Loop. Again, Google Maps does not show the roads that, because they either consider them to be private roads or roads that are not passable. They do not document these roads that go over and through the mountains here. But there's Fields Road, right across the road from Mount Carmel Free Will Baptist Church. Directly southeast. Ben Hill Road, directly southeast. Within a couple degrees of each other. We're not going to get into all that technical stuff, but they're in the very much vicinity of each other. Oh, okay. Well, that's where it is. And thank you, Kitty, for not mentioning. I know who exactly you're speaking of. Thank you for not mentioning that that creator's name. But this is approximately where that property is. And again, it's just right over the mountaintop, right over the mountain. John Q is a very good friend of this channel. So I do appreciate you mentioning his name. And I do know that Miss Carrie went ahead and shared his link earlier. All right, folks, if there aren't any more questions this evening about what I came on here to talk about, like I said, I was not planning on being long. I really do want you to go ahead though and go over to the labs live show he did. I know, just like any other creator, you may not like a creator. I'm sure there are people out there that don't like me. Set your differences aside and listen to that live and listen to what he's telling you. What Don Wells said. It is very revealing. And I'm not trying to be a simp for somebody or tell you to go and do, this, that, or the other. I'm telling you, there's a lot of information there that you need to listen to. Makes you look at this whole thing in a different light. Thank you all, as Miss Carrie had put up in the chat. Thank you all for being with us tonight. Hope everyone has a wonderful night. I appreciate you spending some time with me this evening. But please go ahead and smash that that link at the top of the chat and go check out the lab. It is 10:30. I'm going on 10:30 at night tonight. Normal, short for me. I promise this is short for me. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Please hit that like button, subscribe button if you've not done so already. If you, as I always say in my lives, it is important that you tell your kids every night that you love them, not just verbally, but to give them an extra hug. Make sure they know it without you having to say it. So it's almost 10:30 at night. Do you know where your kids are tonight? If you do, please give them an extra hug. Know that make sure they know that you love them and you're always going to be there for them. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is RJ, and I'm out.